Well, Picky Boo, this is crazy Catless lady enjoying some fire time on this Friday evening, the 18th of June 2021. Haven't had any fire time for a few years, and I'm really enjoying this tonight. And I put a barbecue plate on and cooked my dinner earlier tonight, and just put a bit more kindle on to warm up before I go to bed soon. And enjoying a quiet evening. And put my coffee somewhere. Where's my coffee? Oh, where's my coffee? So years ago, when I had my horse, I was reasonably young when I had my first horse, and used to know a lot of people that had horses, of course, and we go trail riding, we go down the beach. Sometimes we go on midnight rides down the beach and take short cuts across a bowling green on the way back to the paddock. I only did that once because I knew people in the community, of course, and anyway, I shouldn't talk about things like that. So here I am now, many years later, dogless, catless, horseless. Some pretty bizarre things happened to me about 10 years ago, really escalated 9 years ago, and here I am after a truckload of independent research and investigations, and found out a lot of truths, and come to the conclusion the more you know, the less you know. And sometimes it is necessary to go down that rabbit hole for those that, I guess, brave, stupid, whatever people want to label us. But anyway, here I am. And I'm basically just ranting as I do. I think I'm a bit of an expert at ranting. Pretty much questioned everything my whole life, and of course as a child after a while you get told to, oh, just be quiet. It's like, oh, okay. So then you go into that introverted mode, and depending on what's happened to you as a child. But here I am having fire night. I'm really enjoying this. My neighbours went to bed pretty early. I think I'm the youngest in the street. I do live in an area where it's mostly retired people, so I'm quite mindful, never play music loud. Quite it's serenity in many ways. I prefer to be out in the country, but on my own I guess I'd be more of a target because of what's happened to me. And it's amazing how the government just allow terrorists to do this to average people trying to live their lives and doing no harm to others. However, here we are, moving onwards and upwards. Upwards. Beam me up, Scotty. So there were things I was going to say, and can't really for the life of me remember what I was going to say. I'm just enjoying the warmth of the fire. It's good therapy. I remember years ago staring into a fire, and you never feel alone when you're looking into a fire. And when I used to be into horse riding, pretty much Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights, even during the day, we'd cook lunch on the fire. So I always had a fire going for at least 2 nights a week, and it was great. Sit around when I got older, a couple of whiskies, just sitting, chilling around the fire. There could be 2 people, there could be 20 people, and it was just a quietness and just staring into the flames at times. I never felt alone, and I don't feel alone now. And I remember once thinking that, and this old gentleman, Bert, wonderful horseman, and he said to me, he said, never matters what happens in your life, and you know, if anyone ever ends up on their own, all they have to do is light a campfire. And it's amazing how that loneliness just goes away. And it's true. For reasons that people do not have to know, I've had to be alone for quite a few years now, so I'm sort of accustomed to it. It's not nice at times, of course. You can lull into a bit of sadness. But I've come to the conclusion that the world is pretty crazy, but it's also beautiful, and it's what we do make of it. And because of what's happened to me, and now hearing about, you know, the COVID and everything, I said to some people, at least 2 years before COVID came along, we're talking about the electromagnetic field, and research that I'd undertaken because of something that happened to me in a situation that should never have happened, and it should never happen to anybody. And I realised, well, if they're doing that to me, they're probably doing it to other people, and if they are, they obviously want to roll something out to the entire population to control every human brain on this planet. So of course, anybody that I told just thought I was crazy, of course, and I had to be very careful who I discuss matters with, and what I was actually doing, because the whole AI system monitors absolutely everybody through their brain mapping programs and every human frequency, because we all have individual frequencies. That's all being captured by quantum computing technology. And as far as I'm aware, China is in the lead with quantum computer technology. So literally all of our brains are uploaded into the cloud, so they can put thoughts and ideas and suggestions into our brains. Now bear in mind, the human brain does not have a firewall. So all of a sudden you think of something, you think that's yourself thinking that, whereas that could be thoughts, suggestions from a computer. It can control basically every aspect of your life. You may be in a wonderful relationship with a husband or wife, boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever the situation is, and all of a sudden absolutely hate that person for no reason. This is how evil that system is, and I think it is being turned around for the betterment of humanity. But the thing is that what happened to me, I knew that they're going to end up chipping every human brain as much as they can to have absolute control over a person, including their physical movements. And I know how bizarre that sounds. Now that I'm saying this in the year 2021, there's probably people that may come across this video and hear this and think, okay, that makes sense because of what I've researched, because of this worldwide movement that's been underway for several years now. It's been underway for a lot longer than that behind the scenes, as far as I'm aware, in accordance to my independent research and investigations. Now, my main concern is at the moment is that a lot of people are still brainwashed into believing that people that receive psychiatric treatment are crazy and should never be allowed out of a psychiatric ward. Now, bear in mind, pharmaceutical companies control the psychiatric industry. And this all goes back to war experiments, especially during the Cold War and the NAZI concentration camps, where they conducted horrific experiments on children and women in particular, also men, not to the severity, because it's always been a war against women and children. Now, people do not necessarily have an actual mental illness. They get a mental illness from the medications that they're prescribed. Your general practitioner, i.e. family doctor, will often prescribe an antidepressant to somebody who's a little bit depressed or sad about something. A medication is not going to cure somebody from feeling sad or depressed. I knew that, so I had the script filled, but I didn't take one pill. Now, AI, through Google and DARPA, had already been monitoring me. I didn't know that at the time, but they are able to send particular frequencies directly to a person's brain to have them appear, with various mental illnesses. Now, I had I felt euphoric. I'd never felt euphoric before. A little bit once after an anaesthetic, which was quite common from that type of anaesthetic because it was for an operation on nerve, requiring full anaesthetic, so a specific anaesthetic was required for that. And so I'd had a little bit of that before, but this was, it came on like as if you turned on a light switch. I become euphoric for no known reason to me. 4 years later, I was able to join the dots together and realise that I had been targeted individually by specific frequencies from the electromagnetic field, i.e. cell towers, Wi-Fi, electronic devices. Not having a science or physics background, it took 4 years of absolute full-time research and independent investigations to realise that was what had happened to me. And subsequently, as a result of that, because they can make you so ill that you end up in hospital, I ended up in hospital on 4 occasions. It was basically abduction from my home on 4 occasions in the hospital where they experiment on you. Bear in mind, they did experiments on people in the NAZI concentration camps and during the Cold War experiments, which led to doctors being hanged for the crimes that they had committed. However, the scientists were given a free pass to America to continue their research, where they were paid very well and given new identities and housing and everything they could possibly need to live a wonderful, exorbitant lifestyle while they continue to kill people in the name of so-called science. Now, this is science that our government employ experts to put out the propaganda. And funnily enough, the media always say if there's an incident, like if a man or a woman does like a particular crime, runs down a group of people in their vehicle or, does something like very sudden or whatever, the media will often say, the person was known to police and had a psychiatric condition or a mental illness. So there you go, there's your brainwashing. So people wake up because they are coming for you if you take this COVID shot. There are many of us that have experimented on this previous to COVID-19. We didn't know it was called COVID-19. This is the Brain Initiative, which is by Google, DARPA. And our government have allowed this to happen to us and on a worldwide scale. And these people that generally allow this to happen, especially in the government health departments, quite often these people are blackmailed, bribed, whatever. A lot of people say that they've been, they're pedophiles doing horrific things to children, which nothing surprises me from what I knew many years ago, being a victim myself of things in Victoria in the 1970s. So anybody questions me, where were you on Saturday? Or how come you didn't come along to a meeting? If God knows I do not have to be at that meeting, and if other things come up that are more important to me, I will not even remember that I said that I may attend on Saturday or Sunday. If I'm going to attend something, I will say so. If I know that's where God wants me to be on a particular date and time, I will be there. The last few weeks I've had to test out a new device because of the spike protein, which is contagious. So a vaccinated person can pass on a spike protein. They do not even have to be in close proximity to a vaccinated person. I mean, a non-vaccinated person for that vaccinated person to get that spike protein. Now, because we do have a hemorrhagic blood disorder in my family bloodline, that is something that I took a bit serious. So I researched and got enough information to realise that yes, that information is true and credible, so I need to take precautions. So I have another device and I have been testing it out. I have been out and about with people, and so far so good. I did have a bit of a nasty blood nose a few weeks ago, and that was pretty much spontaneous. It stopped within half an hour, which was good because previous to this I would have a blood nose that would go on for several days, and I'd end up very anemic and sleep for a long time. So I think I'm going okay now. So I'll definitely be at something on this weekend, unless if God's taken me. And if God takes me, so be it. He will obviously have 10 others to replace me then, and that's something that'd be pretty good, because believe me, I don't want to have to come back to this place in a next incarnation if the reincarnation theory is correct. So I don't want to come back completely controlled by AI. I'm already semi there, and I've been able to turn that nightmare around quite significantly in the last almost 10 years back into AI, I guess, to teach AI in a way that you cannot do this. So I sort of do have to laugh, the sort of the roundabout way I've had to do it. But I basically had to, like I knew that I was investigating my murder that hadn't actually happened, but they were definitely murdering me, and I guess they still are in a sense. So, when you throw yourself into independent research and investigations, it's as though you're conducting that research and investigations on a victim and not yourself. So I was able to isolate myself as the person that this crime had happened to in order to find the truth. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of people that have that capability to do that. They will either go along with a psychiatrist and think that they're losing their mind and they need to be heavily medicated, which is the bullshit story, so that they can continue to experiment on the person. Or the person just, doesn't have that skill set, whereas, I had been an investigator previous to this happening, and it's probably why I was targeted, because I walked away from my job in the government, and they were just annoyed that I didn't go back to work for them. So they, from what I understand, basically had me kidnapped, abduction, whatever, on several occasions, and isolated in a psychiatric ward and experimented on. And I knew from what other people were saying in there that they were targeting a variety of people, especially women from the age of 30 to 60 that lived on their own, owned their own property, were rather independent. The government certainly do not like people like that, because they're after everybody's assets and money. Not everybody in the government is, but the powers to be that control the governments worldwide have had this agenda in place for many decades. And that's about all. And of course what I have said is just based on a book, maybe a little documentary that, of course, it's all fictitious. So don't believe anything at all that I've said. So yeah, if you like my idea that I've just said for a book or a possible movie title in the fictitious category, give it a like, thumbs up, or put a comment down. If you want to attack me verbally, go for it, because I just laugh at stuff like that. So you'll actually be entertaining me. If you want to degrade me with your pathetic comments or whatever. But yeah, if you like what I've said, of course it's fictitious. I probably should have said that at the beginning, but it's a little bit like a movie. Sometimes people throw in a video, they don't know what category it falls into: comedy, horror, fiction, non-fiction, and then they get halfway through or towards the end and realise, oh, that was just fiction or science fiction or whatever. But anyway, truth is stranger than fiction. Love you. Bye.